Welcome to BTCS's channel, industry-leading blockchain solutions. And joining to give us a high-level overview of the company, a little bit of its history, some milestones, what we can look forward to. Charles Allen joining us, the Chief Executive Officer. First and foremost, welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, such a pleasure to get you on. So maybe for newer audiences, give us kind of that high-level overview of what's going on under the hood there at BTCS.
First off, we're the oldest public crypto company, I think, in the world. And right now, we offer exposure to Ethereum and other blockchains through a high growth revenue model where we are building blocks and validating, running validator nodes on chain. So it's a pretty interesting business model, and I think we're the only U.S. public company, probably only company doing this model right now. So it's pretty exciting times.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the insight, but maybe give us kind of the idea of the market conditions right now. I know Bitcoin started to rally back. Ethereum seems to be trading at somewhat of a discount, but maybe talk about the value proposition and your thoughts around ETH in this market.
Yeah, I mean, I think ETH is probably one of the most exciting opportunities right now. It's, in my opinion, undervalued, a little bit overlooked. It's the second largest blockchain and has been for nearly a decade, has great brand name recognition, has the most developers building solutions on top of it. While there are other competing blockchains like Solana, from discussions I've had, larger institutions are more likely to go with a established player than a new up and coming blockchain. It has much better security. And I think one of the most interesting data points that people tend to overlook is it is not an inflationary asset. So Bitcoin is technically an inflationary asset. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, but every day more Bitcoin are released into the market as we approach 21 million. With Ethereum, it's a dynamic equation. So every time there's a transaction, there's actually ETH burned. So the transaction fees get burned. So right now it's not inflationary. So we have a great chart of this in our analyst and investor primer where you can really see, Solana's inflation is like 15% a year. Ethereum's is basically flat, less than Bitcoin. So it's really an interesting value proposition if you think about it as an equity security, it's non-dilutive versus Bitcoin that is, albeit slightly with a cap, and Solana, which is highly dilutive. So it's really a compelling investment case as a digital asset as well as a use case in terms of the applications that can be built on top of it.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that as well. It's definitely a fascinating conversation. So maybe give us an idea of looking ahead here, 2025. We're just finishing up Q1. What do you see going on in the latter half, and what should investors focus on?
So I think you can break that into two components. One is the macro level. So there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty around policy, tariffs. Are we going to go into a recession? But underlying all that, what I would almost call a little bit of noise, because we're going to in my opinion, get through it. There is an amazing transition that's happened with the administration in terms of regulation. So the SEC is now very open-minded to innovation. They're not trying to snuff out crypto in the US, CFTC, et cetera, right? So it's an amazing time for development and for these use cases to come to fruition. And with regulation on the, most likely we'll have stablecoin regulation this summer and, other regulations to follow. It means larger institutions will more likely than not come in and play in the sandbox, which will hopefully, drive crypto prices higher as well as drive adoption. So that's kind of on the macro level. On the micro level, I couldn't be happier for BTCS. We've grown our team, revenue's growing. We're in an exciting space that no one in the public markets is in. And so, we're hopefully going to hit or working towards hitting our internal target of 20 million in revenue. Had a great year last year of, 4 million, which was up, 200%, with most of that revenue coming in Q4. And so we're both, driving revenue and working on improving margins. So, unfortunately, there's a, macroeconomic backdrop that isn't very positive, but underlying that, there's positive, as I noted, positive regulation and a lot of, great developments for the company.
So finally, I guess just roll back a little bit. Just give us that aha moment. How did you kind of get involved with this company?
So in 2014, we were the first public company focused on Bitcoin. We went public via reverse merger. The business model honestly was not that great at the time. It was an e-commerce site. We quickly pivoted away from that and became the first public company to mine Bitcoin. And so we've been very early in many of the markets in the public space. First public company to mine Bitcoin, first public company with the digital asset treasury strategy, well before MicroStrategy, well before Cantor's SPAC, well before many of the players. And so I think we're probably we were early on the staking side, which was really a pivot away from Bitcoin, which seemed like a very crowded space with Bitcoin mining, into Ethereum and validation. We've expanded that into other proof of stake blockchains such as Binance Chain, which is the fifth largest blockchain. There's really no public exposure to that blockchain. I think there's one ETF that's like a $50 million market cap, but right now we're the only exposure there, and we're working on building out the block building there. So I think if you're really looking at blockchain innovation and technology in the public markets, we're probably one of the only avenues to get exposure in that way.
Well, on that note, we'll pass it off to the viewers as always. We'd love to know what you think and consider subscribing for news catalysts as it comes down the wire. We're going to bring it to you here. But on that, we look forward to catching you in the next one.